In today's video, I'm going to go over a question that was given to me by a friend of mine. He was asking for some tips on how to build a Star Wars desk, how to go about building it, and what kind of materials. So I thought that would make a good video for today, and we'll get to it. So as you see, it's kind of a modular desk, and it has two sides and then a top that goes across it. The two sides will be just simple boxes. And since it's kind of science fiction based, I'm assuming it's going to be like a painted finish or something like that. So for painted finishes, MDF, medium density fiberboard, is a really good choice for this kind of a project. You know, you're not wanting a wood grain because it's a painted finish, and it's very sturdy. It just has some peculiarities that you need to work around. So for MDF and making the cabinet boxes, you'll be dealing with panels of MDF that you'll cut to size. And you can cut to size this with, I would say that this project, you could almost do it with a circular saw and a fine-tooth blade. Now, the trick to a circular saw and doing this kind of work with it is you need a really good fine-tooth blade, which I'll show you right now, and you need some sort of straight edge, whether to run it along or kind of cradles it. There's a whole lot of real simple straight edges, YouTube videos on how to build a straight edge for a circular saw. I would almost say you could do it with this. The main thing is really just a good blade. If you use one of those blades that you're using to frame a house with, you know, real jagged teeth and all that, you're not going to get a good cut. But if you get a fine tooth blade, you'll get a good cut. So what I would do, because MDF has a peculiarity to it, and it's when you join two pieces or two panels together like this, you can put a screw through it like here. You can put it through this part just fine, but running lengthways, it wants to split apart. And so when that screw gets to this side, it'll tend to split it apart. So what I would do, if this was my project, I would put a block of wood in each corner. 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch is fine, because you want to put some sort of nail or some sort of fastener while your glue is gluing up. I would probably use screws on this, because you can always countersink the screw and then Bondo over it, you know, use an epoxy filler over it and sand it smooth, and then a painted finish, you won't ever know it's there. So I would put a countersunk screw here and then a countersunk screw here. And that way they're biting into the wood. You know, this here, I would do a poplar. Poplar's a nice hard wood, but it's still pretty soft, not like oak or anything. And so it's forgiving with screws and all that. You can buy it at Lowe's, Home Depot, lumber yards and all that, real inexpensive. It's more of a painted wood because usually it's green or kind of cream colored. So I would use that in the corners of your boxes. Now, and then glue, of course, glue here and then here. So that would give you a really good glue joint. Now, there's several things you can do with this to hide this joint a little better. Is you can put even a little panel on the finished product, and then you can put little button heads on it to hold it, and that panel would cover up part of the joint. You know, a hardboard panel, you know, no more than 1/4 inch or so, and then those button heads all painted up would look like some sort of metal panel over it. That's one way to cover it up. Another way is, let's see, is to do it this way. Is your two panels are like that, but you do a little rabbet right here. That's called a furniture joint. And a furniture joint just allows you like a shadow line that will kind of hide discrepancies in that joint. So you can do that. You can cover it with a panel, or you can just do it flush up. Now, when you're painting this, you need to do, I would do like 2 coats of primer and get a sandable primer. A sandable primer is something with high solids in it. When it dries, you can sand it and it fills pores in the wood. That is because on MDF, the large flat area, you know, this area here is real solid. It has it's pressed, so it's real flat, real solid. This portion here, when you cut it, the way it's made, it will soak up paint real good. So you need to make sure that you prime these edges more so than the flats. When you prime that edge and then sand it and then prime it again, paint won't soak into it. And you'll end up, if you don't prime it right, you'll end up with a different finish here than you will here because of the fibers in it. So that's what I would do. Make sure that you prime it real good, sand it, and all that. Now, I thought about the paint on this. What I would use is a hammered finish paint. Make sure any paint that you use, whether a hammer finish or smooth finish, make sure it's an oil base. An oil base will just last longer. It'll be more stable, and it'll flow out better, and I think it'll just give you a better look. If you're brushing this on, a latex brush on, you'll see brush marks in it. So I would use an oil base. Even a rattle can, spray can is fine. I think you could probably get away with that. But I would use like a hammered finish. A hammered finish would cover up a lot of the defects that you're going to have. You're going to have some oopsies along the way, and you know, a fill of one of the screw heads that you know, doesn't quite look right. You can kind of see it. That hammered finish will blend all that in a little bit. Another thing I would do is, if you have some trouble putting this together or have a bad cut or whatever, think about distressing the finish. If you distress this finish, it'll look like an older, you know, Starship or what have you that's been, you know, flying around for maybe a century or so. It's going to get beat up. So if you distress it, you know, paint it, prime it, paint it, distress it, give it some scratches, and then go over that finish with an oil-based, either a stain or a glaze. You can get an oil-based glaze, like a dark brown glaze, and that'll fill all the cracks and crevices of it and give it a nice patina look, and will give it kind of an aged, antique-y, you know, sci-fi antique-y look. That's what I would do, you know, but if you want more of a cleaner finish, then, you know, you're going to have to be a little bit more precise on the way you put this together. But, and then looking at it, it looks like it's going to be modular. So that top, if you make it out of MDF, that top is going to sag if you don't put some structure underneath it, which it looks like you do have some structure. But I would definitely put some poplar strips, you know, 1.5 inch strip or so underneath it, 3 different places, you know, front, middle, and then back. And that'll keep it from sagging, because that MDF, it's stable in some ways, but you can't make shells out of it very well. It needs a lot of support. It'll start sagging. And then the cleats, to where it looks like it comes together, there's some cleats. I would do that out of poplar, because MDF's just not a good choice for that kind of a structure. Not that kind of a structure. MDF is more of a box, you know, a cabinet carcass, door, but for structure like that, it's better to use poplar. And then for the cabinet drawers, I would do the drawers out of like a birch plywood. It'll just give you a better box. MDF is not good for making drawers out of. You're just better off with like a birch plywood or a maple plywood. 1/2 inch thick is fine, and then you can brad those together. You can go as complicated as you want to with drawers. I mean, you can do dovetails, or you can do just plain simple boxes. It doesn't really matter. So pretty much does it. Those are my tips for you. MDF is a great choice for this project. It just, some peculiarities with it that you got to work around. The end grain soaks up a lot. It also splits along that end grain, so you got to be careful the way you fasten it. You got to prime it, but overall it'll make a really good project. Just take your time, go slowly, and make sure everything goes together good, and then glue it together real good, give it a good painted finish, and you'll come out with a good looking project. So if you like this video, please like or subscribe, and we'll see you at the next video.